Hey y'all, Chef Dave here. Welcome to my kitchen, where I'm going to show you how to make great meals for your family. I'm excited to be a part of your culinary journey. Let's have fun. Today we're going to make buttermilk biscuits, because who doesn't love a good buttermilk biscuit? I know I do. Here's our ingredients for the buttermilk biscuits. I have 375 grams of all-purpose flour, 26 grams of baking powder, 4 grams of fine sea salt, 140 grams of butter diced, and 240 milliliters of buttermilk. And I've got my handy dandy bench scraper. Okay, we're going to add our salt and our baking powder to the flour. I highly recommend weighing all your ingredients, especially if you're baking, because it comes out precise every time. Use my little whisk here, and I'm going to whisk up the salt and the baking powder into the flour. Okay, next we're going to add the cold butter. It needs to be cold. So I'm going to add this all at one time. I personally like to work the butter in with my fingers. It's very therapeutic. You can use one of these gadgets here to cut the butter in to the flour, or you can use a processor, which only takes a few seconds. But I think it's very therapeutic, and I'll take some butter between my fingers and I'll squish it out like this. And I'll continue to do this until all of the butter has been squeezed and incorporated into the flour. It's going to look like pea-sized little balls, little chunks. You can see that I'm just squishing the butter in the flour, just like that. So here's what the flour will look like after you get done cutting the butter into the flour. Shouldn't have any large chunks left. So now I'm going to incorporate the buttermilk into the flour and butter mixture. I'm going to use a spatula, and I'm just going to pour the buttermilk in there. Get all I can out of there. And you're just kind of fold it in until it starts forming a dough. It's going to be really dry and really shaggy in the bowl. You don't want to overwork it, because you're going to build up gluten and make your biscuits chewy. And we don't want Wookie biscuits, because, you know, Wookie biscuits are chewy. So that's as much as I can probably do with that spatula. Time to get my hands all in this, which is part of the fun of cooking anyway. Alright, put that over there. So I'm going to dump this out onto the counter. And you can see how dry and kind of shaggy it looks. And that's where the bench scraper comes in. We're just going to kind of work this dough until it hydrates the flour really good. As we're doing this, we're going to fold it over on top of each other. See how loose it is right now? The more it hydrates, the sooner it will become a nice biscuit dough. So we're just going to keep working it. I'm building up layers as I'm working it. You can see the chunks of butter in there. You can see how it's starting to stick together a little bit better. It's kind of wet right there. Oop, lost my ring. Don't lose your ring in the biscuits. We're just going to keep folding this over until it becomes a nice cohesive mass that we can roll out. So my dough seems a little bit too wet, so we're going to add a little bit of flour to it, just a little bit at a time. In order to get it to the right consistency. So it's not sticky. You don't want sticky dough. It's starting to feel pretty good there. Still a little bit sticky. Add a little bit more flour. All right. That's feeling pretty good. Not sticky. Feels like a good dough. So I'm going to wrap this in plastic and let it rest in the refrigerator for about 5-10 minutes. Okay, I've let my dough rest in the refrigerator for 5 or 10 minutes. I've got my rolling pin, my cutting board, my sheet pan with parchment. I highly recommend getting some half sheet pans and some pre-cut parchment. It makes life a lot easier. So we're going to roll this out. And we're going to continue to fold it in thirds to add layers. Continue rolling it out until it's about 3/4 to an inch tall. I'm going to kind of square it up a little bit with my bench scraper. And then I'm going to cut it into squares because, you know, you waste a lot of dough if you use a round cutter. So I'm going to cut the edges off a little bit. That helps it to rise better on the edges. And I'll show you what to do with this dough here in a minute. So we're going to make it a nice even rectangle. Ish. And then I'm going to cut it into 9 squares. Well, let's make it 6 squares. How's that? Let's we're going to take our squares and we're going to put them on a sheet pan, spaced out a little bit so they have room to rise. These are rustic biscuits, so they don't have to be perfect. I'm going to move these down a little bit because with this extra dough that we have, we are going to create a cinnamon roll. Dough's still a little moist. It's not terrible. So I'm going to roll this out to where it's flat. I'm going to brush it with some melted butter. Make sure it's all covered really well. Then I'm going to take some brown sugar. Cover it with brown sugar. Just like that. And then it wouldn't be called a cinnamon roll without cinnamon now, would it? So we'll put some cinnamon on it. Wouldn't be called a cinnamon roll without being rolled either, would it? So we're going to roll it up. Roll it up tight. I'm going to cut that in half. Put that on our sheet pan, and then we're going to wash this with some buttermilk on the top. It doesn't take a lot, just enough to cover the top of the biscuit. That's it. Look at how gorgeous these biscuits look. Alright, while we're waiting on the biscuits and cinnamon rolls to cool, let's make a little glaze for the cinnamon rolls. So I have 72 grams of powdered sugar. I'm going to sift that into this bowl. We don't want any lumps, so we use a little sifter. Alright, I have 12 grams, correction, 12 milliliters of heavy cream. And we're going to use the spatula. Get all the heavy cream out we can. Okay. I have 8 grams of melted butter. And 2 grams of vanilla extract. We'll take our little whisk and just mix this up into a nice little glaze. There we go. If you think it's too thick, you can always add a little bit more cream, which is what we're going to do. A little bit more heavy cream. Thin it out a little bit. We want to be able to pour this. So I think it needs a little bit more. That's the thing about cooking. Sometimes you got to wing it. I do that a lot. So yeah, that's pourable right there. So we're going to take that and put it on our cinnamon rolls. Look at these beautiful flaky biscuits. Who wouldn't want some of that? And the cinnamon rolls, oh my gosh. So we're just gonna be generous with the icing. Very generous with the icing. All right. And there you go. I think I'll have some to eat right now. Hey, y'all be sure and like and subscribe to my channel so you can see all the future videos coming. Thanks for watching. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're inspired to make something great. Good day and God bless.